Welcome everybody to this e-lecture for the Net Economy class. My name is Roemer from Hochschule Ruhr. I'm Professor of Market Research and International Marketing, and I'm presenting today an e-lecture on social media marketing. The question today is there a return on social media marketing investment? Because, as you know, there are a lot of companies investing in social media marketing activities. And for them, it is, of course, very important to know whether this actually pays out, if there is a return on social media marketing. So I want to start my talk today with different forms of advertising to give you an idea which different forms of advertising exist. In the second chapter, I will introduce social media marketing, and more precisely, I will give a definition and different activities related to social media marketing. And in the third chapter, I will ask the question again, is there a return on social media marketing investment? And I will actually report there about key marketing metrics. So there are, of course, different forms of advertising. In the past, there were a lot of above-the-line measures related to marketing, and these are probably those forms of advertising that you all know. For example, we have classical advertising, such as TV or print media advertising. We have also direct marketing measures, such as newsletters, mailings, etc., etc. We have online marketing. We will go deeper into that a little bit later. And finally, we have public relations. On the right-hand side, you see that there are also below-the-line measures. These are measures that actually are not identified as advertising by the consumer. They are a lot more subtle or more indirect, and I will give you some examples. For example, sponsoring, of course, you know, football teams are usually sponsored by different companies. This is also advertising, but below the line because it's not obvious. There's product placement. For example, you all know James Bond movies, and there are a lot of brands actually used by James Bond, Aston Martin, for example, or BMW as the cars. There's word-of-mouth advertising when you tell families and friends about good products. And there are also events. For example, Red Bull does a lot of events. And of course, this is also advertising, but all these forms are a lot more subtle, more indirect. Let me go back to classical advertising, and I have some key figures, some numbers for you relating to Germany, but this is also valid for other countries. And here you see the spendings in different forms of advertising. For example, print media is the largest share that companies invest in their advertising activities. In 2013, this was 11.6 billion euros that have been actually spent. And this is about 42%, which is the highest share in classical advertising expenditures. In total, we have 27.5 euros that have been spent in Germany in 2013. And here you see that television is, for example, also quite big with 6.7 billion euros. Then we have supplements, outdoors, radios, and cinemas as well. But cinema is very unimportant, we must say. So these are different forms of classical advertising measures, and you see that print media is actually the largest share that companies have spent their marketing budgets on. What about online marketing? We have different forms of online marketing. For example, we have company websites. You all know that each company has different websites. I will come to an example later. We have banners and pop-up ads when we search on the internet. And we have, of course, search engine advertising. I will give you an example as well. Finally, there's also emails and newsletters sent out in online advertising. I will give you an example of company websites. For example, I will open one page, for example, BNP Paribas, which is a major French bank. Of course, every bank has its own website. We have banners and pop-ups, and I have one important German newspaper. The German students will know that. And you have usually advertising in the banners and in the sides. I will pull down a little bit. You have in the top, you have advertising. And on the right-hand side, you also have advertising here. So this is also a form of online advertising. Then we have search engine advertising, and I think all of you probably use Google. This is the German website. So let me search, for example, for a hotel here in Soest. And you can see that here we also have advertising at the top. This is actually marked as a yellow with the icon of ad. You have sponsored links, as Google says, and also on the right-hand side, you have also advertising here. So all of these belong to online advertising. Online advertising expenditures are in total a lot lower than the classical advertising measures that I've shown to you. For example, we have in total $11.9 billion here. In comparison, before in classical advertising, we had 27.5 billion euros. The most of the budget goes into company websites, as the one of Paribas, BNP Paribas, that I've already shown to you. We have 6.3 billion euros going into that, which is 53% of the online marketing budget spent in Germany in 2013. The topic today is social media marketing, and here you can see in 2013, 600 million euros have been spent on social media marketing activity. It is not the biggest share. However, we have already about 5% of social media marketing activities in the budget of German marketing managers. So this is already showing that there is some importance, and it is of course interesting how this will develop in future. What is interesting, of course, for marketing managers to know what is the right mix of different media. And here we have a small survey, and this shows that most of the marketing managers prefer actually print media and own websites, company websites. 9% of the company have asked that this is the preferred mix. Here you can also see other mixes, for example, online marketing and their own company websites, 6%, and so on. So you see classical advertising and online advertising mixed in practice. In the end, social media marketing activities are right between above the line and below the line measures, because we've already seen that social media marketing is part of online advertising. This is what we've already seen. But because it is more subtle and because it's not so perceived as advertising for consumer, it could also be below the line marketing. Let me come to the next chapter. So, social media marketing. First of all, we need a definition, and I've brought a definition with me today, which says that social media marketing refers to the presence and the interaction with a target group in different social media channels and platforms in order to reach a specific marketing objective. So what is important here is that we have the presence and interaction with the target group, which is not usual for other marketing forms or media forms. And we have the objective part, and I will come to this now. These objectives include the acquisition of new customers, increase in brand image and awareness, or maintaining a market position. So social media marketing is always related to these kind of objectives, and I will go deeper into this right now. Before I start, I want to give you an impression of the US companies. I've talked about Germany before. I now switch to the US, which is kind of the leading market in advertising. And in 2012, we had a big increase in social media marketing spendings in the marketers' budgets. We had an increase of 55% in their budgets, so this is already a very large share. It's only topped by email marketing. So social media marketing in practice, what does this mean? Of course, some companies do have their own Facebook accounts, for example. They have connection buttons. They have discussion forums and groups. They have Twitter accounts, blogs, social media release, which is a form of press release in social media, or their own apps. I will come to this in more detail, but we see already that the Facebook account, the company's Facebook account, is one important social media marketing activity. I have brought with me an example. For example, this is AIDA Cruises. I'm not sure if everybody knows AIDA. This is an international company. Their business is in cruises, cruise shipping, tourism, and they have a very good social media marketing mix. They are, for example, on Facebook, and here you see my Facebook account, and I'm sure that everybody of you has already noticed that there's also advertising on Facebook. So for example, you see some activities here in the middle where they announce some special offers, for example. So what are objectives if you're a company and you want to invest in social media marketing, and especially on a Facebook presence? Of course, what you want to do is to raise brand awareness and engage the customer. You want to acquire new customers, gain new customers. You want to share a mix of relevant links or blog posts and engage into content with the consumers. You want to promote upcoming events, for example, and engage, of course, with influencers in social media, because those influencers are very important to you because they are kind of multiplier. This can either be into the positive direction, that an influencer has a positive influence on other people, but however, we also have, of course, you know, the negative influences. We will come to this point later. These are the objectives of companies for a Facebook presence. However, we also have other activities. For example, the connection buttons, you all know them. I go back to my AIDA example and I will show you that on the company website, which they have, of course, you can do all the booking on their website, but in the right-hand corner, low right-hand corner, you can see that there are these connection buttons on their websites. Then you have discussion, blogs, and forums. And AIDA is also very good at doing this because they have their own forum where tourists, travelers can exchange their ideas, what to visit when the cruise ship actually is in the harbor of an important city. Then you can share your ideas what to do in that city, what is a very good hint what to do, what is not so good. So I can show you their website. They have their own forums and their blogs. But there are also other forums and blogs outside this website, but there is a lot of activities of the customers so that they can share their experiences and their ideas. Of course, what is the objective of those blogs? We always want to be aware of the objectives of the marketing measures. So, of course, to increase brand awareness, increase thought leadership throughout the industry, encourage comments and engagement of the customer, to acquire new customers and new blog subscriptions, and have also external linkings. These are the objectives of bloggings or blogs. Of course, social media marketing activities also relate to Twitter, not only to Facebook, but you know, one of the important players in the social media platforms is Twitter, which is a smaller share, but however also important. And of course, AIDA is also on Twitter, so you can also post your experiences there and get in contact to other people. What are the objectives here? Again, we see brand awareness and engagement of the customer, to acquire new customers, to share a mix of relevant links, blogs, and posts, but also here to segment influencers and create lists of influencers, because here you can really see who's influencing whom, and to communicate issues from social media support teams and ensure follow-up, listen and respond to relevant conversations, and finally also to build your reputation and image. So these are the objectives of Twitter activities of companies. Finally, of course, some companies do also have their own apps, and I will show you here the example of the AIDA app. So you can, if you install the AIDA app on your smartphone, you can actually see where you are. You can load maps of the cruises, and you can see actually where you are during the cruise. You can also blog and post on this app there. So this is, of course, very expensive for a company to program the own app, but of course there's also a benefit of that. We will look deeper into this benefit later. What about the target group? And here I have some interesting figures for you, because for companies, the target groups of social media marketing activities are actually the younger people between 15 and 30 years old. And for the companies, it's of course very important to know how these people feel and think, and what they like and what they don't like. Here I have a study regarding mailings, and we have a comparison of the traditional mailings, which you can see here in red, which is the print ads, and you have email advertising, which you get through your email account, and this is the blue line here. And what has happened is that researchers has asked different people in this age group regarding the different topics. And here you can see with the red line that for all the items, this red line is actually more right than the blue line, which means that the print ads are actually more attractive. For example, the first point, I'm reading regularly. The people agreed more that they read print ads more regularly than actually the email advertising. So we can see here that print mails still beat emails. You know, everybody knows those emails in your email account, and it depends really on whether you read them or not, and it shows that the print form is more important. So this is more or less an excursion to show you that actually not all online media marketing activities are actually successful or well perceived. Let me come to the third chapter, the return on social media marketing investment and activities. The big question at the moment for researchers, but also for practitioners is, how much does it actually pay out? Because there is a lot of investment. I've already shown you the example of AIDA, where you have different activities regarding social media marketing. And of course, this investment is only done if it has a chance that it pays out in the end, that there is a positive return on the investment. Like, you know, for example, the formula to calculate and return on investment, and ROI, which is return divided by investment. And here we have to do the same calculation. However, up to now, this measurement is very complicated because the impact of social media marketing is more on the soft factors. We have seen before that in the definition it is said, for example, brand awareness is one point that is the objective of social marketing media activities, but this is more or less a soft factor, and it's difficult to put this into a monetary value form. And this is actually the point which is very important for the companies. So let me come first for Facebook to the first metrics. So because it's difficult to measure the success of social media marketing activities, marketers have come to very simple metrics in order to measure the success. For example, the number of posts per day, the number of page followers, the number of likes, engagement and comments, referring traffic, the number of shares, or the number of new customers. And here you can see that all these measures are quantitative in nature, but they don't relate to a monetary value. So you have only, for example, the number of likes. This is something that you can count. It's quantitative, but what do you want to do with this measure? And you don't know, does it pay out in the end? Is it really profitable for the company? The same holds for Twitter. For example, here we also have the success measures or key metrics are number of posts per day, number of followers, number of mentions, retweets, number of lists, hashtag usage, influence of Twitter followers, customer acquisition, referring traffic, and favorited tweets. So here again, we have a lot of quantitative measures, but it is unclear how it relates to a euro dimension, for example, or a dollar dimension. For blogs, very similar, number of posts per day, number of bloggers, social shares, audience growth, conversions. Conversions mean that a blogger is actually turned into a customer. Subscriber growth, inbound links, directory listings of infographics, and search engine optimization improvement. Coca-Cola, for example, has asked the question in more detail. And what they did not want to do is to have these simple metrics, just one by the other. What they wanted to do is to combine the different metrics into an index. And here you can see the Influencer Relations Manager Index of Coca-Cola. And they have actually put quantitative criteria together with qualitative criteria. Here you can see, of course, they also count the number of fans, followers, likers, or discussions on their forums, but they also look for more qualitative factors, more soft factors of success. For example, successful positioning of topics, successful communication of positions and core messages, volume and quality of network integration, and number of misleading and false messages. So you can see here that, of course, we still count, but this already goes into a more qualitative direction. What they do as well is to look for external sources. So the first measures that I've shown to you relate to their own website and their own communities, but they also look for other sources. For example, they look for the number and quality of mentions on platforms like Twitter. And here you see they also look for the quality of the mentions. And of course, also very important, they look for the sentiment of the mentions. Is it positive, neutral, or rather negative? The number and quality of dialogues between community management and fans or critics. Number and quality of citations. Number of cases which caused reports in other media. Volume of networking with relevant multipliers on the web. And finally, level of interaction with users on their own Coke platform. So these are all actually activities outside the Coca-Cola website. So this is also, of course, influenced, and Coca-Cola measures this influence as a kind of success factor. What we have here is kind of summary, because what we've seen up to now is that social media marketing has an impact on the awareness, the brand awareness, for example. And I want to show you a very simple model that probably everybody of you knows. We have the AIDA model. Not to be confused with AIDA cruises, by the way, this is very similar. There is an AIDA model, which is attention first. The A stands for. So first of all, we want to generate brand awareness, for example, or attention. What we hope is to get the customer engaged and raise interest in the product, for example, for a cruise. Then there is a desire for the cruise, and finally action. And this is all what the marketer wants, is the action in the end on the right-hand side. Because the action is the actual purchase. And for the company, a purchase means, of course, dollars or euros, whatever, but it is a monetary value. So what we hope in marketing or social media marketing is that this chain from awareness or attention actually goes through until the end, so that the customer buys the product and uses the product. But this is, of course, the big question, whether this chain can be actually, if this actually holds, and if the process goes through until the end, so that the company does actually have a monetary value. One thing which is very important to remember is that, of course, social media marketing activities are very fast, they spread very fast, and as I have mentioned it before, it can have a positive influence and people can influence each other positively, but there's also the negative form. So there are also challenges for social media marketing, and you know all the magic word which is called shitstorm. There have been a lot of shitstorms in the past. For example, Taco Bell is one of the companies that suffered one of the first major shitstorms because customers have announced that the quality of their meat is actually not good. And this message has spread very fast on the internet, and Taco Bell had really big problems that, in order to reduce this shitstorm and to turn it into a positive message. So what they did is actually to start a counterattack. They had newspaper ads, like you see it here on the right-hand side. In some of the major American journals, they had this one-page advertisement in the traditional media, classic media, you can see, where they had it, for example, in the Washington Post, where they actually explained, and the CEO made a statement regarding the quality of the meat. They have mobilized their own fans in order to have a counterattack and to influence other people on the web. And in the end, they had also electronic coupons and bonuses where people could actually buy products at Taco Bell in order to convince those customers that the quality of the meat is actually good. The danger here is that 2/3 actually of all organizations being on the web and being in social media marketing, they have no system in order to monitor what is going on these platforms, and this is a high risk for the company. So you have to monitor as a company and also make investment into that monitoring system in order to be aware that the messages posted on your websites or in the social media platforms are actually positive and that nobody is actually damaging your brand and brand image. So in the end, the question is, of course, what is the return on social media marketing investment? First of all, you should have learned by now that it's actually difficult to measure social media marketing in terms of monetary value because we have the long chain from attention and brand awareness onto the action, which is in the AIDA model, attention, desire, attention, interest, desire, and action. So this chain is very difficult to manage, so there is no direct link, and this is why it's difficult to manage. However, we do have chances to apply indirect measures, and we should use those in order to see whether actually our brand awareness has increased by social media marketing, our customer engagement has increased. So this should also be written in your objectives, because you can only measure an activity when you have an objective. So you have to decide first what is your objective with social media marketing investments and activities in order to be able to control it later. What is very important is that the analysis of quantitative data and the quantitative key metrics is important and interesting, but there is a tendency that the qualitative data, the mentionings in the text and posts will become more important, and also the analysis of those messages. Finally, in the last stage, there will be a measurement of emotions and feelings, and actually Facebook has already started to measure this. They are actually analyzing all of your messages and posts on Facebook, and they have different keywords where they can see, is this a positive emotion or rather a negative? And the future will be that regarding your emotions and feelings, Facebook will be able to actually position the right advertisements just on the Facebook page, so that it's more likely that you can also click on that and that you will actually use and buy the product. This is actually the end of this e-lecture. I thank you very much for your attention. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, here are my phone numbers and here is my email address. And of course, I would be happy to receive some feedback on my points on social media marketing. And yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed the lecture, and I again thank you very much.